Hey everyone, and welcome back to another deep dive from the Moore's Global Finance podcast team. I'm John,
And I'm Tiffany.
and we are so glad you're here with us today
Absolutely.
as we take a closer look at Rosland Capital. Now, we've heard from a lot of you who are intrigued by precious metals as an investment option, especially in today's economic climate. And Rosland Capital is a name that keeps popping up, so we've done some digging and, well,
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here.
there is. They get high praise for customer satisfaction.
Yeah.
But then you see some negative reviews about their pricing transparency.
Right. How do we make sense of that?
Exactly. Plus, they've got this interesting connection to Formula One.
Oh, yeah. How does that fit in?
Right. So, Tiffany, let's start with the basics. For anyone who might not be familiar, what exactly is Rosland Capital?
So Rosland Capital specializes in precious metals, gold, silver, platinum, palladium. They've been around since 2008, offering investment options like personal accounts and IRAs.
And they're not just limited to the U.S., right?
Nope, they operate internationally. They've got clients in a bunch of different countries.
Yeah, we found they've worked with folks from the U.K., Sweden, Hong Kong, even Germany. That's a pretty wide reach.
It is.
But what really caught my eye was the variety of products they offer. It's not just the standard gold bars you might think of, is it?
Not at all. They've got a really wide array of precious metal products. We're talking themed coins featuring things like Formula One, Arnold Palmer, even the British Museum.
Oh, the British Museum. That's pretty cool.
It seems like they're trying to appeal to collectors as well as investors.
It makes you wonder if they're going to come out with a Star Wars collection or something next.
All right.
But I did notice that information on some products, like those palladium bars, it was a bit hard to find on their website.
Yeah, I noticed that too. If you're interested in those, you might have to dig a little deeper.
Good point. So let's shift gears a bit and talk about retirement planning. A lot of people are looking at precious metals as a way to diversify their portfolios, maybe hedge against inflation, and Rosland Capital offers IRA options, right?
They do. The idea with the precious metals IRA is that you're holding physical gold, silver, and so on within your retirement account.
So it's not just paper assets, it's actual tangible stuff.
Exactly. And the thinking is that precious metals tend to hold their value, especially when times are a little uncertain.
So it's about adding a layer of stability to your retirement savings.
That's the theory. And Rosland Capital lets you do this, hold those physical metals within your IRA.
Okay, so that's the general idea.
Yeah.
But what are the specific advantages of going with Rosland Capital for a precious metals IRA? What sets them apart?
Well, one thing that stands out is their low minimum investment requirement. It makes it easier for folks who are just starting out to get involved.
It makes it more accessible.
Exactly. And they're big on quick shipping, usually within 14 days.
Who doesn't love fast shipping?
Right. They also put a lot of emphasis on education, providing resources to help people understand precious metals investing.
That's crucial, especially if you're new to all of this. But we also need to look at the potential downsides. Our research turned up some mixed reviews, especially when it comes to pricing transparency.
Yeah, that's something to keep in mind. While Rosland Capital has a lot of positive feedback, some customers have expressed concerns about not having clear pricing information readily available on their website.
So you might not know exactly what you're paying until later in the process.
Exactly.
That's definitely a yellow flag. Transparency is so important when you're talking about investments. You want to know exactly what you're getting into. So while the low minimum investment and quick shipping are appealing, that lack of clear pricing is something to consider carefully.
Absolutely.
And it's not just the pricing. Some reviews also mention they don't offer online account opening, which seems a bit old school in today's digital world.
Yeah, that was surprising. And their international shipping options are a bit limited too, something to think about if you're outside the U.S.
Okay, so we've got a bit of a mixed bag here. On the one hand, we have accessibility, educational resources, and quick shipping. But then there are those concerns about pricing transparency, no online account management, and limited international shipping. It seems like it's really important to weigh all of these factors carefully.
Absolutely. It's all about finding a balance that works for you, your priorities, and your investment style. If transparency and ease of access are really important to you, those factors might outweigh the benefits of low minimum investment and fast shipping.
It's all about knowing what matters most to you as an investor. It really is. And speaking of finding that balance, let's talk about those customer reviews. We found some glowing testimonials and some pretty harsh criticisms. How do we make sense of such contrasting feedback?
That's where it gets tricky. It's easy to focus on the extremes, the really good or the really bad. But the key is to look at the overall picture.
To see the forest for the trees.
Exactly. We need to consider the source of the review, what specific concerns they raise, and whether there are any recurring themes.
Right, like, are people consistently complaining about the same thing?
Exactly. For instance, Rosland Capital has an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, and that's based on hundreds of reviews.
That's a pretty solid endorsement.
It is, but then you look at platforms like Trustpilot and TrustLink, and the picture is more mixed.
Mhm.
You see some praising Rosland Capital's responsiveness and others complaining about customer service.
It's almost like reading reviews for a restaurant. Some people love it, some people hate it, and everyone's got a different experience.
Right. It highlights the importance of not relying on just one source. Each platform has its own way of doing things, its own audience. It's about gathering information from various sources and forming your own judgment.
So it's not just about the star rating, it's about digging into those comments and understanding the context. Are people upset about customer service, pricing, something else entirely?
Precisely. And that's where you, as the potential investor, need to do your due diligence. Don't just take our word for it, or anyone else's for that matter. Read those reviews, look for patterns, and see if the concerns align with your priorities and risk tolerance.
That's such important advice. It's so easy to get caught up in the hype or let a few negative reviews scare you off.
Mm-hmm.
Taking a step back and really analyzing the information objectively is key. Speaking of analyzing information, let's go back to those themed coins for a minute. I have to admit, the Formula One connection, that really intrigued me.
Me too.
It's a clever marketing strategy for sure, but what's the bigger picture here? What do you think, Tiffany?
I think it speaks to a broader trend in the precious metals market, a move towards appealing to a wider audience. Traditionally, precious metals have been seen as a conservative investment, something for older generations or those seeking a safe haven asset.
Right, it's not exactly the most exciting investment for younger folks.
Right. But these partnerships with brands like Formula One, it suggests a shift in perception. Maybe they're trying to make precious metals a bit cooler, a bit more mainstream.
It's almost like they're trying to rebrand precious metals for a new generation.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder if we'll see gold bars with superhero logos or silver coins commemorating the latest tech gadgets. What do you think?
Who knows? The possibilities are endless. But it does raise some interesting questions. Does this focus on branding detract from the inherent value of precious metals? Or does it simply reflect an evolving market adapting to changing demographics and investment preferences?
It's a valid point. Some investors might see those themed coins and appreciate the novelty, the collectability. Others might see it as a gimmick, something that undermines the seriousness of precious metals as an investment.
Right.
It really goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Knowing yourself as an investor, what are your motivations? What are you looking for in an investment? Do those themed coins appeal to you, or do they raise red flags?
It's about aligning your investment choices with your personal philosophy and comfort level.
And it's fascinating how psychology plays such a big role in investing, isn't it? It's not just about the numbers, it's about how we perceive those numbers, how we feel about the investment itself.
Absolutely. That emotional element can be a powerful driver. Sometimes it leads to great decisions, and sometimes it can lead us astray.
That's why self-awareness is so crucial, especially when it comes to our finances. Understanding our own biases and motivations, that can make all the difference.
Couldn't agree more. It really is. It all comes down to what you prioritize as an investor. Some folks might be drawn to that classic image of precious metals, that safe haven, a store of value that's been around for centuries.
Yeah, that sense of stability and security,
Exactly. But for others, that might feel a little outdated, maybe even intimidating.
like something their grandparents would invest in.
Right. So if a company like Rosland Capital tries to modernize that image, does it make you more confident? Or does it make you question their motives?
It's a really interesting question to consider.
It is, and it all ties back to that self-awareness we talked about. It's not just about understanding precious metals or IOAs. It's about understanding yourself.
Knowing what makes you tick as an investor.
Precisely. What are your comfort zones? What are your absolute deal breakers?
Because at the end of the day, the best investment decisions, they're not just about numbers and spreadsheets.
They're about finding that alignment between your financial choices and your values, your goals, even your gut feelings.
And speaking of gut feelings, we've given you a lot to digest today about Rosland Capital. Their products, their IRA options, those customer reviews, even their marketing approach. But now it's your turn. What stands out to you? What do you want to explore further?
What questions would you ask if you were sitting down with a Rosland Capital representative?
Maybe you're curious about their fees or how to actually set up a precious metals IRA. Perhaps you want to dive deeper into their customer service record or the security of their storage options.
Whatever your next steps are, we encourage you to keep researching, ask those tough questions, and most importantly, trust your instincts.
Investing is a journey, not a sprint.
Exactly. And the more informed you are, the more confident you'll feel navigating the ups and downs along the way.
Couldn't agree more. So from all of us here, the Moore's Global Finance Podcast team, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Rosland Capital.
We hope this exploration has given you the knowledge and insights you need to make those informed decisions about your financial future.
Absolutely. Until next time, happy investing, everyone.